Well, first of all, congratulations on the film. I have not had the chance to see it yet. It's about to open in my area, but certain people have seen it. Limited members of the public, if not some film critics, and the critics are raving about it. They're saying it's like the best Batman movie since Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. Some are saying it's as good, if not on par, of the last one, the Lego movie. I'm sorry, it's gonna be hard to differentiate between the two. But how long have you been working on this project? It's been 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I just want to say, I think if you set your expectations somewhere between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, I think that's an appropriate place for you to set your expectations for the movie. Mm-hmm. So, and then you're going to come out of the movie and you're going to be very happy.
Yeah, but it's just an enjoyable. I'm sure it's going to be just as much of an enjoyable ride than maybe especially for the kids, who probably couldn't see, like Batman, the Christopher Nolan movies and the recent Zack Snyder film. But anyway, back to my question. After all this positivity and the so many people just praising it and the massive 2 years of your life just devoted to creating this film, is there a huge sigh of relief on your part knowing that you have done your job to the best of your ability and that people are embracing something that you just poured your heart and soul into?
Yeah, well, it's been about 2.5 years. We pitched the movie to the studio in the summer of 2014. We had a treatment, about 3-4 page treatment that they really liked, and then they're basically like, go make this movie, and so we've been racing to finish this movie ever since. So the feeling that I have right now is a lot of pride in the crew. The fact that we're able to turn around a very ambitious animated movie with a lot of characters, a gigantic Gotham City, massive scope to the kind of filmmaking and storytelling, to tell a story that takes place, that we're trying to say that our Batman that our Gotham City and our Batman's been around for 78 years, and sort of all of the timelines of all of the Batman movies are kind of on this timeline. To take a big swing at some ideas like that, to try to tell a story about Batman that no other movie maybe could tell, because I pitched the studio that I wanted to make Jerry Maguire as directed by Michael Mann with a lot of jokes in it. And they kind of bought into that. So the feeling, and we literally I was having, animators were animating this movie up until, just the end of December. So the fact that we were able to, mix it, do Lorne Balfe do an amazing score, Dave Burrows and Matt Villa, my editing team, were able to put all that together. Grant Freckles and the production designer and his team were able to put all the art together. And finish this movie and make it as I wanted it to feel, like super brightly colored and almost like a Basil Gogos painting come to life. So the fact that we finished that in record time, they moved up our release date from May of 2017 to February of 2017. So the fact that we were able to do all of that in a very short amount of time, I think the feeling I have is an enormous amount of pride, and I appreciate. We'll never. Lego Movie is a once in a lifetime experience. It's a once in a lifetime experience for us as filmmakers. It was a once in a lifetime experience for the audience to have a movie where you kind of go in and you're really surprised by what the filmmakers are going to do. It's not something that you can repeat. So the only hope that we can have is to make a movie that is honest about our feelings about Batman, and it tells a bunch of jokes that we love, is as action packed as we can possibly make it, and as sincere and as earnest as we believe emotionally, and that's my like I said, I feel pride and I feel a sense of accomplishment that our team kind of killed it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And going back to the Lego Movie from 2014, I love that movie. I was shocked of what you had delivered, not just special effects wise, but just the story and the soul. And, you know, it was very rare for animated movies, like at that point in time, you know, to have a soul. Most of them are just kind of forgettable. You made something that was enduring, you and Phil Lord and Chris Miller. But I have to ask you, back when you were producing it and just in creating it, was there any doubt on any of your parts, you know, whether it was between the three of you or anybody else involved with the team, that was like, is this really going to work? Yes, we got this great story that we feel like speaks up to the Legos and what it's about. We got great characters and animation, but did you still, you or anybody else, have any doubts if this was really going to work? Yeah. The Lego Movie.
Do you allow people to swear on your podcast or no?
Don't swear. This is a family-friendly show, so.
Got it. Perfect. That's good for me to know, because I'm terrible.
Yeah.
I remember, because of that, I won't say exactly what this person said to me, but I remember I was working with a comedian on a short film that he had written, and I was just, you know, doing a directing job, kind of like working with this guy, and I remember telling him that there was an opportunity for me to work on the Lego Movie, and he said something that was basically the equivalent of, well, that sounds like an awful idea.
Oh, I hate those.
And I was just like, you know, and you know, I'm like, you know, still, you know, young in my career anyway, and like, I know that, you know, if you set, you know, I've read the script, you know, I know what Chris and Phil were trying to do. I didn't know Chris and Phil from anybody. Like they were looking for a filmmaker to come in and work with me on, you know, they were looking for a filmmaker to come and work with them while they were doing 21 and 22 Jump Street. Somebody who knew something about animation, somebody who knew something about stop motion, who cared about these things the way that they did, and could kind of like, you know, when they were around, be a general who kind of just kept things moving. When they were gone, be a commander-in-chief who could keep the big picture movie running, deal with the studio, deal with all that stuff. And so when people were sort of like initially kind of like dissing the idea, I guess I just sort of thought, you know what, it's our responsibility. And the thing I kept telling the animators and the team every day, the you know, editors and the layout team, is like, look, everyone thinks that this is going to be a bad movie. So we have to do everything we possibly can every single day to prove everybody wrong, because that's the default position that people are coming in. So every day, every choice that we make, let's just make the best movie we possibly can, and let's try to make a movie that reminds us of what it was like playing with toys when we were a kid, that feels like, you know, with the stereo, you know, my stereo supervisor and that team, I want to feel like you're in a dollhouse, or I want to feel like you're in this world. I just wanted us to go, let's embrace nostalgia. Let's not have a cynical attitude. I don't want any cynical jokes. I don't want anything to sort of be that you know, that you wouldn't want to, you know, you say your podcast is family friendly. Like I don't want a kid to feel like, I don't want stuff to feel cynical to a kid. Like I don't think you should teach cynicism or represent cynicism to a kid. You know, people will get that in life. You'll experience that in life. You'll develop that stuff on your own. But let's make something that has joy, that has hope, that is fun, that is charming and funny. Let's remember what it feels like to have toys in our hand and play with them and make up stories. And both for the Lego Movie and for this movie, that's the stuff that that's how we built these films, is with that in mind, so that when people come and present us, you know, I felt like we needed to have a better attitude than what other people are going to come at us with, because otherwise, if you sit there, you know, the DNA of your crew and the feeling of it gets cooked in the movie. So if everyone has a bad attitude or comes at it with a bad attitude, you're going to feel that somewhere in the movie. So the best thing that I thought we could do is try to make it, you know, try to always have a positive attitude about the thing we were making, and really love the stuff that we were doing, and find the love. If you don't have it right now, let's find a way for you to take ownership. If you're an animator and you just don't feel the scene, let's find a way for you to take ownership of this thing and make it your own and find the love in it. And that's what we did every day. That's what the actors did. Liam Neeson wanting to do bad cop and good cop. Like, he didn't have to do that. It was just sort of like, he was like, no, I'll do it. And then he literally would read it, and they read, he'd read, and it was like, we could have had him just read all the bad cop stuff, and then he could have just gotten into the voice and then done all the good cop stuff. But he wanted to do it like it's a play, like he's talking to himself. And so he just did it like that, which is why it's so silly and charming, and stuff like it in the same way why we did the pew pews. I mean, in this movie where I knew there's going to be a certain amount, like I wanted to feel like a Michael Mann movie. Mm-hmm. So I knew there's going to be a certain amount of like action stuff and that kind of thing. But I wanted sort of like, how can I still make it action packed, but kind of like walk back from the the violence and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, instead of having, loud gun sounds and that kind of thing, let's just have them do pew pews. So I had all the actors. I had, Zach, and I had Rafe, come in, and Rafe doing pew pews, and Rafe's such a professional that like he was like, okay, well, I want to do another take and he started doing these machine gun sounds and stuff like that that he remembered from being a kid, and so he started doing the stuff where he's like doing like that, and he'd just done Richard III in like London's West End the night before, and then he comes in and he does this kind of on his own, like, because again, I was happy with the take, like I thought he did a great take, and then he kind of went and did this, because he's like, no, can I do a take two? I want to try something. I was like, yeah, sure, you can, or Mariah Carey coming in and doing the same kind of thing, where it's just like everyone was game to play and be playful and have fun. And I think that's just, I don't know, I just think that's really important. And that's what hopefully makes these movies different. And even if, these are different movies and we're not trying to do the same thing that the Lego movie did. The Lego movie is its own special thing, and there's going to be a sequel, and it's going to be a really amazing movie. And I just wanted to be able for us to be able to have fun with Batman, to have fun in this world, to be able to create a story about Batman that is emotional as we can make it, and like emotionally honest, I guess. Probably what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, but kind of going into the vision that you had for this movie, you're dealing with an 80-year-old mythology, and in 20 years' time, this is going to be a 100-year-old mythology. This is a character that has been literally explored from the very bottom of his boots to the very top of his pointy bat ears. You know what I mean? He's been explored, every possible way you can think of, whether in the comic books, the movies, the animated TV shows from Bruce Timm, when trying to find the story, and when you're dealing with a mythology that old, was it hard to find the right story to feel, and that one that you felt like, hey, this is unique, this is unlike anything that other filmmakers and storytellers and comic book writers have done before? Was it hard finding that exact story that was unique and different from everything else?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously struggle a lot. Like, why are you going to make this movie? Why make a story about Batman? Because there are a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I think by making it about Batman's, Batman is the one thing most Batman movies do is they use his parents' death as a catalyst for the crime fighting. And that's mostly like what it's there for. Mm-hmm. You feel sorry for him. You feel sympathy for him. You understand why he's doing it. And like I said, it catalyzes the action. But for the most part, there's no, they don't actually take a look at what if Batman set out to solve that problem as a filmmaking exercise. Like, what if Batman, set out to ultimately get over that, get over that and try to move on with his life. Mm-hmm. And we've sort of taken the point of view that the reason why Batman is this loner, the reason why he is kind of, for lack of a better, word, like maybe more of a sociopath or somebody who just, broods on the Gotham City gargoyles above the city, broods night after night. Maybe the reason why he doesn't have close relationships, the why in all the movies he has a different girlfriend every time, and that kind of thing, is because he's afraid of letting people into his life. He's afraid of being hurt in that way again. Like if he gets people close to them and then something happens to them and they go away, he's going to go back to being that hurt 10-year-old kid, that his life kind of stopped at that moment where he was, a 10-year-old, and now he, and so he's afraid of going back and feeling that hurt again. So our movie is like, can Batman be happy? Can Batman get over this thing and maybe allow people into his life? Can Batman change?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted that. That's the kind of thing I thought was different enough from what other movies are doing and could do, because there's no, there may not be any future to fixing Batman in other movies because you want to keep telling more stories about, Batman going out fighting crime and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was going to say, like, would you say the central theme of this film is the importance of family in terms of Batman's case?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we even have a song at the end of the movie called "Friends or Family," and the idea of like you can choose your family, you can make your family, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that's basically the end of it. Yeah.
Okay. And in this version, finally, we get a Robin. we didn't see a Robin in the Christopher Nolan movies, and we didn't see. Well, we don't have to get into that whole John Robin Blake thing.
Sure.
But anyway, you finally have a Robin in this film, and you got Michael Cera to play him, and that's a really interesting choice because you're approaching it like he could be kind of you're approaching kind of like as a goofy or kind of a parody of a Robin. But from your point of view, when you bring in Robin into this world, how vital of a component is he into that theme of family that with and Bruce and this Bruce or Batman in the mindset of this Batman that you've created in the Lego world? Yeah,
well, I wanted this to feel a little bit like a mashup, so I basically took the idea of like the Burt Ward 1960s Robin, and imagine if you took that Robin and you took the Zack Snyder, Ben Affleck Batman, and you put them in the Batmobile together. Mm. The super like indefatigable, super happy, with a Book of Mormon-esque Robin, and the dark, brooding, angry, violent Ben Affleck Batman, and put them in a Batmobile together. That was kind of the pitch that I thought would be fun, because obviously that kind of conflict and that kind of contrast, we as an audience are hoping that's Robin's charm and his positive outlook and his indefatigable nature are going to maybe work its magic on Batman and maybe make him, it's like the Grinch. Maybe his heart's going to grow a few sizes, and he's gonna kind of fall in love with this kid and want to take care of him.
Yeah, and what I liked about I just rewatched the Lego movie the other night, and I loved Will Arnett's Batman in that movie. But what I liked about him was that unlike the previous Batmans, he's a bit cocky. He's kind of full of himself in some ways. When you were making that film, and then when you decided to make this particular piece, were there any characteristics that you felt like we should explore that in this film? Were there any aspects of the characteristics of the Lego Batman that you wanted to carry into this one?
Yeah, I mean, I want to take his ego, his vanity, his narcissism, the fact that he thinks he's somewhere between Trent Reznor and Ice Cube, as far as being a heavy metal rapping machine. His lack of self-awareness, isn't it? The fact that he doesn't see any of his flaws at all. Mm-hmm. I want to take all of that and make a movie about that guy. I mean, I did. This is a movie in the vein of Jerry Maguire, About a Boy, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. And any of these Bill Murray movies where he is kind of this kind of guy who pushes people out of his life and realizes ultimately that he needs people. Arthur, movies like that. That's kind of the movie. That's kind of what this movie is. The genre of film that this movie is. So so I want to take all of that stuff from the Lego Movie and then really kind of focus on it, but also get you to understand, because our opening, 12 minutes is one long extended heist scene. The opening of the movie is basically like the ending of some other guy's Batman movie. Like it's the third act of somebody else's Batman movie. So it's a big heist. With all of the rogues gallery of Gotham City, and and Batman's nowhere to be found, and they're going to take over the energy plant and blow it up unless the mayor gives Joker the keys to Gotham City, and Batman does eventually show up, and there's a big song, and there's a big fight, and I won't spoil too much because you haven't seen it yet, but
I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
What's that?
I think I know what you're talking about because I've seen the scene. I think I've seen a scene of that moment in the trailer. But yeah.
But basically, it's like, you get to see all of Batman's ego writ large, put all of that stuff out there, and then you see him go home, and you realize how sad and lonely his life is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're going to want to follow this guy. Hopefully, you're going to want to follow this guy because. It's a there but for the grace of God go I kind of story. Like he's a he's a charming narcissist, and you're going to want to see him grow. Like A Christmas Carol or Scrooged. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to see him. You're going to want to see him go through this thing. It's funny to watch somebody do that for a little while in the movie, but then you want to watch them go through the process of change, and that's why we like movies like that.
Oh yeah. Now, the design of the world, you're basically building this version of Gotham, of Batman's world with these characters and the city of Gotham. When you were creating this world, did you have to start completely from scratch, or was there a lot of unused concept art from the Lego Movie that you were able to carry into this one?
No, we had to start from scratch.
Oh, wow.
One, because we changed our pipeline. There was let's say, for instance, there were, extras and things like that we'd built for Bricksburg that we were going to, turn into Gotham City extras. But for the most part, I really wanted this to feel like a Batman movie as much as possible. So I needed Gotham City to be as big as we possibly could, so that if we're doing a wide shot, maybe for a second you forget you're in a Lego movie because you don't see the bricks anymore, or you don't see all of the construction. And I wanted the Gotham City to be designed to look like a little bit of the Anton Furst stuff in the Tim Burton Batman movie, a little bit like Chicago, because that's where Christopher Nolan shot the Dark Knight trilogy. And a little bit put a giant statue in it as a homage to Joel Schumacher, so that it has a little bit of something in it from all of those cities combined, but still feels like a real city when you pull the camera back. So I wanted the Batcave to be huge. I wanted we made a new Batmobile. Our Batmobile does exist in the rotisserie somewhere in the Batcave. There's a car rotisserie. But I wanted, new Batmobile. I wanted new vehicles and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff like that we just decided to rebuild because we wanted the movie to feel different and be our own version of Gotham City.
Yeah. Now I have to ask you, you're playing in this you're almost like a kid again. You said this earlier. You were like you wanted to approach the movie like as a kid, when you were back then, and playing with all these things. Is it hard to separate yourself from the mindset of a filmmaker and being that 11-year-old boy all over again, or did you have to find a way to mesh these two mindsets and to make the experience all the more enjoyable?
No, well, it's funny because it's sort of like you're playing in your parents' basement and then your dad comes downstairs to yell at you. I have the studio coming down constantly to tell me that I got to stop playing and I got to stop doing this stuff. or to remind me of all of my responsibilities and chores to all of the people that are counting on this movie to come out on time and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a kid playing around, and then my parents come in and yell at me, and that's basically how it works.
Are you married? Are you married?
No.
Okay. Okay, I thought maybe if you were married, like your wife calls you and says, "Honey, I need you to bring eggs. Stop playing with that stupid Lego movie and come home. I need you." Bring home the diapers or something like that. I don't know. But no, that's a really amazing. I was kind of wondering if you had to start from scratch, or if there was a lot of stuff, because I'm assuming there's a lot of stuff that you weren't able to use from the Lego movie. But now the cast, you got a really impressive cast for this movie. You got Will Arnett, Zach Galifianakis, Rosario Dawson, Ray Fiennes. When you were casting these actors, actually going back to like Will Arnett, he was doing a parody of the Bale Batman, and when you knew that you were going to continue that particular Batman and what he did and what he brought to the role, was it easy from there on out to kind of figure out, okay, for the Joker, the casting of the rest of these characters, kind of, but going off of what Arnett kind of formulated and what he did with that character?
Yeah. Well, what's really crazy about Will Arnett is that you could actually cast him in a live action Batman movie, and he could play a great Bruce Wayne. Like he's a good looking guy. You could sort of buy him as an athlete or something like that. Like if you put the mask on him, he's got a good chin. You could buy him as a live action Batman. And I think one of the things that and also the fact that his attitude, his attitude and the way he plays Batman is kind of how he is a little bit in real life. Like he is this very charming, he's not quite, I'm going to say he's a charming narcissist, but he really isn't. He's just a really funny guy. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like that's kind of like how, he can, he gets away with a lot of the Han Solo roguishness that not everyone can do. And sort of I took the point of view of, well, I want to cast people that, like, if you hear their name, you kind of go, oh yeah, I could kind of see, if Zach shaved his beard and pulled his hair up really high and turned it green and put makeup on, Zach could be the Joker in a live action movie. He's his comic, his persona is unpredictable. It's slightly dangerous. It's also vulnerable, which is something I needed for Joker to be. Michael Cera's got a lot of innocence and a lot of sweetness and positivity. Rafe could obviously play a great Alfred. I mean, they got Jeremy Irons in the Ben Affleck Zack Snyder movie, but you could imagine Rafe being a really great. I think he sort of plays in the James Bond movie when he plays M. He sort of is sort of like an Alfred version to Daniel Craig. And with Rosario, I think even when we announced that she was going to be Barbara Gordon / Batgirl, I think people thought that it was a live action casting for Barbara Gordon Batgirl. So I remember even seeing like people sort of responding like, "Oh my gosh, she's perfect," because you could imagine her playing, the live action version. So for me, and her attitude is very much, I needed somebody who's, a very strong woman, but also can kind of like have a good sort of critique of Batman in Gotham City. So the fact that she could do that, you kind of bought, she's sort of like an activist and that kind of thing in her real life. So you sort of buy her as that idea. Yeah, I kind of looked at these people and said, do they embody this personality that I want? And honestly, could you see them if there was a live action version of this movie playing those roles? And that's kind of how I took the attitude when I was casting.
That's neat. Now with Will Arnett, did he have a lot to say, or did he make a lot of contributions to the plot of the Lego Batman movie? Did he have a lot involved with the story?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, well. First off, he improvises a lot. So when you kind of like get him in front of a microphone, you're like winding him up, and then he's kind of taking the script and he's kind of riffing on the script and kind of going off on kind of whatever tangents, and you throw stuff at him, and he'll kind of go and create stuff, and some of the best stuff in the movie came out of that. But Will's also a show creator. I mean, he created Flaked, and he works, and Zach too. Zach is a show creator. Michael Cera is a creator. Rosario is. So, and I believe in bringing everybody in and bringing their contributions in, whether it's the cast, the crew, everybody. I want everybody to be able to like throw ideas in, because I think you make a better movie that way. You get a lot of fun people in a room together, and it's I think it just makes the movie better, being able to, even if you don't take every idea, you just sort of go, okay, it's interesting that's where you went, or that's interesting that's where your brain goes. So I'd be crazy not to involve these people on a story level. Plus, they've been around on all sorts of different kinds of movies, and they've been through stuff and tried stuff out on their own. So they had a big part of each of their characters in the whole movie's journey.
Sure. Now, when it came to the casting of Ray Fiennes, who is an amazing actor. I mean, you look at his body of work. The fact that the quiz show in Bruges. I'm trying to remember the Constant Gardener, Harry Potter, and his amazing performance as the Commander Amon Goth in Schindler's List. I mean, an amazing performance there. When you announced him as the Alfred for this movie, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of a little bit like, oh, that's interesting, because everybody else you had casted were these, comedians, comical individuals, a lot of people who've done a lot of comedies, and you got what many consider to be, or who many consider to be one of the greatest living actors, if not one of the greatest Shakespearean actors on our planet. Was when you casted him, were you trying to find somebody with legitimacy that had a towering, vocal presence, in the sense of like Liam Neeson, or were you trying to find somebody that you felt like could do a parody of the Alfred that everyone else like Michael Cera? It's like, that makes sense. Like, okay, Michael Cera's a goofy Robin. Okay, that makes sense. Zach Galifianakis as the Joker. Okay, etc. Was that kind of going through your mindset when you were casting the role of Alfred?
Yeah, well, I think it was important. I knew that we're going to cram a lot of characters in this movie, and I knew that we were going to have a lot of storytelling shorthand that we'd need to do in order to keep the movie moving. So by casting somebody, like you said, who has an air of legitimacy, who I mean, he's done funny Grand Budapest Hotel. He's very funny.
Yes.
But so I knew that I could sort of talk to him because he'd done some comedy before, but I wanted somebody that had the gravitas and the emotional resonance, because Alfred was going to be the person who was going to start the critique of Batman and start us going like, in a very gentle way, take the movie and turn it. We've just come off this crazy fight scene. We've seen Batman be silly, kind of alone and kind of silly, and yet we sort of feel sorry for him. And then Alfred was going to kind of take us to the theme. And I knew, like, okay, I need somebody who just sounds right and just sounds like somebody who is the voice of a compassionate voice of reason and counsel. And I wouldn't have to go very far to get him to do that. If it was a comic actor or somebody like that, he might end up playing it for laughs as opposed to just knowing when to play something straight and play something real and emotionally honest.
Yeah.
And so so you hear his voice as Alfred, and he's immediately that his tone is very reassuring, and you can tell there's a lot of love there. and I mean, he's a blast. So
I'm sure. And given his background, in theater, I mean, this is a British guy. I mean, the British people know acting. I mean, that's why you got an Englishman playing Superman, for goodness sake, and he's phenomenal in it. But here you got a guy who comes from that background of, and heck, even trained in the arts of the Shakespearean acting. Did he at all give you any advice, both as, in terms of how to direct people, to direct actors, and how to communicate with them in effective ways? Because I know he's directed, I think, a couple of plays and I think even a film at one point in time.
It is a Shakespeare play. It's Coriolanus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Coriolanus, maybe?
I think so.
It's not one that I'm familiar with, so I apologize. But, working with him is like a workshop in great acting, and also teaches you a lot about directing, because you just sort of, when an idea hits him and he gets it, and I think for me, it wasn't necessarily about anything he said directly about how to do something. It was more about, I saw immediately sort of like what he was responding to that I was saying. And then also immediately when it was something where I was like, okay, that was super vague, not specific enough, and plus also we're doing a thing like this where he's in London, I'm in Sydney or Los Angeles. And so I'm also doing it over Skype too. So there is, like, you have to be really specific, because as just in this conversation, things can get sort of lost, or stuff comes up and you don't really quite know if it connected or not. So to be able to you have to be really, really buttoned down, but again, I couldn't ask for somebody who was more generous or more patient when I was giving him direction that wasn't quite on the mark, because he would sit there and he would try something, or because he was game. He was always like, he's a professional. Mm-hmm. He's like, super like on, respectful and loving. He's great. Yeah.
Now, as a director, do you feel like you have found your niche as a director, or do you feel like your talent is still evolving? I mean, this is your first time directing solely. Am I right? Yeah. I know you directed Robot Chicken, but you directed like segments here and there of like the Star Wars, the Star Wars bits. But this is your first time doing a feature length film, and you did co-direct the Lego Movie. But do you feel like as a director, you're still learning the process, or do you feel like you're complete? And from your point of view, what do you think makes you a unique director, in the sense of, like, we know what makes Tarantino unique, we know what makes John Ford unique, a director of westerns, Stanley Kubrick. Well, Kubrick was an interesting director, but so yeah.
I mean, I've come maybe more from the John Cassavetes school, where I feel like if you don't approach your material a little bit with your open eyes and open ears, that you're doing a disservice to it. So have a plan, have an agenda, have a point of view, for sure. But if you're not organically kind of like developing your movie along the way, whether that's with your team or just yourself internally, I think you're doing your movie and movie making a disservice. That's my point of view. But I think so. To answer your question, as far as career goes, I think that I have the same point of view about my career, in the sense that, like, I'm very young as far as where my career is. There still is a lot to learn, a lot to grow, a lot of stories to tell, a lot of things that I don't even know are going to happen or be presented in life that could present as far as opportunities. So for me, it's still a big, it's a lot of blue sky stuff for me right now, where I want to just see, kind of like, what's the next move, and, be open to developing, a lot of stuff, and and kind of like find my next project. And I wish I was a Quentin Tarantino, where he's an amazing writer and an amazing filmmaker. I share a lot of affinity for the movies that he likes and the things that he champions and the stuff that he loves. So I'm glad he's out there, and I'm glad that he knows he's got 10 movies or whatever it is, and he knows what those movies are, that kind of thing. I think that's amazing. But I want to. There's a lot of scripts I'd love to read and a lot of passion projects I'd like to work on. And then there's a lot of things that I want to find out. Like, I want to find an actor that loves a character or something so much that that I get to work with them. I'm still trying to find all of those things, and I still want to be open to the possibility that those things might be out there for me.
Oh, sure, definitely. Now, a technical question.
I'm getting the signal that we have to go on to the next one, and I'm really sorry.
Oh, okay. Can I ask you just one more question real quickly? Sure. It's a bit of a scoop question. Well, by the way, thank you so much for contributing your time and letting me interview real quickly. But I gotta ask you one quick thing. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they're off directing another certain movie with another iconic character named Han Solo. Have you, by any chance, seen anything? Have you visited the set? Have you seen a little bit of some footage? I mean, have you seen like the audition tape that the young actor did that's going to play the young Han Solo? Have you seen anything of that?
There's a really funny thing I wanted to do where I wanted to start answering your question and then hit the hang up button, like go, oh yeah, I've seen everything, and then just as though I was about to start talking about it, hit the hang up button. But I didn't want to do that to you. I was in London for some press. I did not get to go to the studio. I did get to go out to dinner a couple of times with Chris and Phil. They were just about to start production. Mm-hmm. They were super excited about it. I didn't get to see, they can't share anything with anybody.
Okay.
But Phil on his phone had some designs of some things that he was really excited about, and I got to see on his phone just a little bit of an animatic of something that he was working on with a stunt, and that was it. And that was literally it. I don't even know what it was about. I just got to see just the tiniest little thing that he was excited about. So I probably shouldn't even say that.
Yeah, you're going to get into trouble about that.
I'm probably going to get in trouble. You might have to cut that.
Sure, absolutely. I'll definitely try to.
But for you and I, they're amazing filmmakers, and they're going to make an incredible movie.
All right, great. And what do you hope people will take away from this film that you've poured your heart and soul into? What do you hope audiences will take away once they go into that movie theater and walk away from this experience?
I want people to have a great time. I want people to love Batman the way I do. I want people to have a lot of fun, laugh. I hope people laugh. I hope people get thrilled with the action scenes. I hope that they're touched a little bit emotionally by the relationships between the characters, but most importantly, I just hope they have a lot of fun and get a lot of joy out of the movie.
Okay. Well, I know you have to let you go, and I thank you so much, and I thank your publicist as well for working with me and getting this interview set up. And thank you very much for dedicating your time and and just indulging with me and doing these questions, answering my questions, and being relaxed. And I was kind of shocked of how relaxed you were. Actually, you're a normal human being. That's just one of the luckiest guys in the world, having this job and doing what so many people love doing, and it's great. I mean, that's so cool, and I'm so honored to have you with somebody like this. I mean, this is going to be a big movie, and hopefully 50 Shades of Grey 2 won't have any interference whatsoever with this.
I think John Wick is probably the thing, a little bit of 50 Shades, a little bit of John Wick. I think those are the things that, are going to kind of, eat away at this movie. But thank you for saying that. I mean, I'm a fan too, like you, so I love movies. I love, comic books and Batman specifically. I love superhero movies. I'm the guy who's first in line for all that stuff. So,
and I do have my Lego Batman figurine right here. I got mine from the store. He has the little grappling hook. So
nice.
Yeah, he was gonna ask you a question like, "Hey, are we gonna do Lego Batman 2 together?" But you have to get going, so I won't bother you with that. Good luck with the film. It's gonna be a huge hit. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope you have a great day. Nice talking to you.